time. So welcome, wake up, buckle up, buttercup. It's Friday. What you doing? What you gonna do? What you gonna complete? Who you gonna love today? Who you not gonna hate today? And who you gonna forgive today? Right? And guess what? All three of those might be your ass that you need to forgive, you need to love, and you need to just, chill out. It might just be you. Because a lot of the times we don't do that. We forget to do that. And then hurt people at the end of the day, especially with frustrations and upsets. And look, it's cool to be upset. It is cool to be upset. Everybody gets upset. But what's not cool is to get upset and be angry and frustrated and blast out at other people. That's what's not cool. And then to know that you're being upset and continue to be upset, that's more so of a decision that you're making into a mood. And that's a habit. And that's you self-sabotaging yourself with your own thinking and your own energy and your own vibration. So buckle up, buttercup, lighten up, and give yourself love and stop hurting other people.
Yeah! And welcome everybody to the amazing Getting Naked podcast in the Hello Plaza Getting Naked Studio Metaverse. You can join us from any device, your grandma's VR headset, your old crusty dusty actual phone, or that old laptop that you got from your old job that you stole, and you getting on that and come and join us. We don't care, but be here and meet us here. But either way, we want to invite you guys to enjoy this amazing conversation. What you think you know about life abroad. Getting Naked podcast live with the Hello LLC. This is David. Of course, Tara is here as well. And today we're going to have some amazing conversations of really, guys, sharing continually, what lie they tell you about moving abroad. Especially when we talk about, the untold truths about freedom in America. If you guys haven't, we highly encourage you to go listen to the amazing Getting Naked podcast and the actual episode 4, should I say? This is episode 5. So yes, 4. Go listen to episode 4 where we talked about, the American dream is getting out of America. And, we're going to dig deeper into that, especially when we talk about the culture. We talk about, the people. We talk about, the travel. We talk about, some of the things that we've kind of, looked at in a different way, shall I say, and just more so the things that are happening now after the last 3 months that of us being here. And, it's been a whirlwind in itself with the transition, the timing alone that people don't tell you about. And then just the people and the culture. Is it really, land of the smiles? We definitely have a partake on that. I do for sure. And then, if you guys are not following us on our amazing, TikTok or our social media, especially the Hello LLC, the Hello Passport, right? David, Tara, follow those on TikTok. We have different varieties of different stories from all over the board to telling the truth, right? Over actual, perspective, really being able to dig down into, our actual discoveries here in Thailand. And then, the girly stuff, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then, where I come in and beat you upside the head and say, you want this, but, you got to work for it. A lot of people want to go to heaven, but nobody's ready to die. A lot of people want a great relationship, but when it's time to have a great relationship, we don't do what it takes to have a great relationship. And that's in friendship. That's in, that's in parenthood. That's in, hell, what's your pet, hell, just in general, what you want, you have to give, and you get what you give as well. And so without further ado, look, this is also, where we talk about the growth. And, a lot of the times I know people ask, hey, why did you leave? My sister asked me yesterday. She said, why did you leave? What made you leave? Are you sure it wasn't this? Are you sure it wasn't this aspect? And I was like, that's a great point. I never thought about it that way. That's a great point. But no, it was the money. It was the traveling. It was the experience. It was really being able to go and discover something new. And always, when I was a little kid, I always told myself, I'm gonna travel. And one place that comes to mind is Egypt. It's not safe right now, so my ass won't be going there right now. But definitely, seeing other places and experiencing other things. And really, when we talk about it's a lie, we've been bamboozled on both sides of the aisle. Real talk. I'll never forget the conversation when we went to Jamaica and we had some time before our flight took off, and we went to this market, and this little market just up the street from the hotel, from the resort. And I encourage you guys, just don't go to the resort. Get off the resort and go experience the actual culture and talk to the people, and you'll discover something you've never even imagined. And we had probably a 2-hour conversation with this lady, and she thought one way, we thought another way. She was telling us how tourism was really, destroying the local market because, the big companies would come in, see what tourists would love, to purchase from the locals, and then they would go and take that product or whatever it was and take it to the big manufacturers and cut them out. And now, the locals are, cut out of the big business. And so there was so many different conversations that she shared with us, and just the energy and the vibration. These are things that I don't forget. And I think a lot of the times we forget these conversations that we have, which is why, we lie to ourselves. Stop lying to ourselves, which then in itself, when we lie to ourselves, we lie to other people around us. That doesn't create a great surroundings, doesn't create a great energy. And then we're living our lives off a lie. And at the end of the day, stop lying to yourself saying that, oh, I can't travel because I don't know the language. That's bullshit, right? There's this great thing called technology, and you have it on you at all times, called your phone. And you can take it and use this thing called Google Translate that's a free, and you can be able to talk to people. And 9 times out of 10, whoever you're talking to probably already has the damn app on their phone, and they're going to start talking to you already in their language. And it doesn't matter where you go. And so this is where we really have to get down to communicating effectively, and willing to communicate effectively. You cannot claim you want to, communicate and then be talking or not talking, or avoid people or ignore people and say that it's just not working. That's communication. And this traveling, right, has really taught us how to be able to communicate a lot more effectively, and to be honest, not communicate effectively at all at the end of the day. And so this is where, we're going to continue to share these trials, these tribulations of you guys being able to understand, our travels from Colombia to Mexico, now in Thailand. What do you have?
Oh, hi, beautiful people. I am so sorry. I didn't know that the mic was being passed on over to me. Thank you, Mr. Jones. I'm so grateful that we got to go ahead and get this podcast started and talk about what we love to talk about best, which is living abroad. And so, as Mr. Jones has shared there, yep, I'm here. It's great to be here with you, beautiful people. Mr. Jones jumped right in and shared some thoughts and tops off of his head about what it is to live abroad, what it is to be in the human experience that we all just take for granted all too often. And so I would say that the funniest thing is like Mr. Jones shared earlier, is go out and check out our new TikTok page at Hello Passport. So go out to TikTok, type in Hello Passport, and you will see our beautiful faces pop up. And this is our travel page. And what I mean by that is, as David shared, we have multiple TikToks. We have everything from talking about AI and all things business related and Web3 related and Metaverse and all the cool things that are happening and things that are surrounded around our thriving business of Web3 and helping you bridge that gap, right? So there's that side. But then there's also the fun back behind the scenes. There's David over there with his 2x4 bonking people between the eyeballs as hard as he can, because, that's his way and his style of messaging. And that's what he does on his page, is he shares the truth that as how he sees it and how it comes down
the facts. We share nothing but facts. We don't share feelings and emotions. We share facts,
truths, perspectives, whatever we want to call it.
Perspectives is on your page. Facts is on mine.
David loves to jump into that side, the motivational side, the side to, never quit, keep going, and that guy thing, right? You can come to my side.
People action thing.
And
the people that take action.
my
That's what
side-
it's about. It's about taking action. That's what my page is about. It's a podcast. We go back and forth. That's what we do. Come on, let's go.
My side, I have a couple of different sides there. I have the one that's behind the scenes that just is all over the place. I can't figure out where I want to talk about, what I want to talk about on my TikTok, which is, my personal one. I've got things from the woo-woo side. I've got things from the funny side. I got things from the silly side. It doesn't matter. It has no rhyme or reason on the personal side. But come on over, which the whole point of this conversation here was come on over and check out the Hello Passport. And the Hello Passport TikTok side is where we're sharing with you guys our travels. And that was something that we felt that when we decided, hey, let's do something, like let's share our travels from a different perspective, because everybody has a different perspective of being abroad. There are tons of Thailand influencer pages or informational pages or, just TikTok pages. Let's put it that way, right? There's tons of TikTok pages. And the one thing that I will say is a lot of them are doing reviews on restaurants and different parts of towns and experiences. By the way, I am not hating because I love it, because the beautiful thing about it is that I get to learn from their trip, their TikTok, and then we get to go try it out if it's something that interests us, right? But that's not what we wanted to do. We didn't want to be this type of, page that was here to shove, that's the wrong word. Shove is a bad word. Let's come back off that word. Not to go down that direction, right? We wanted more of a behind the scenes, fun, did you knows, which is exactly what we're talking about here today. So in the conversation of topic is about things that they lied to you about living abroad, is if you go out to that page, I've started a little mini series of just kind of aha things that you'll notice that are different over here versus America. And that's kind of what we find very interesting. For instance, I just did a TikTok about towels. That is one thing that we have, was looking for a long time, was towels. We went to a market, we looked at every towel there. We got some towels there. We went to big grocery stores. We went to malls. We went everywhere. And yes, you can find really nice towels if you would like to, but they're, you can also pay really nice prices for them. And everybody thinks that Thailand is cheap. It is cheap in comparison. However, it can also be expensive. And that's something that people need to understand. You can live this quality of life that you want to live. The same way back home in the States that you're living a quality of life of, getting up, going to Starbucks every day, getting your smoothies, or going to the park and walking, or going to the gym and working out. Whatever your lifestyle is in America, you can have that same lifestyle here, right? And you can also spend the money of whatever you want to. You want to go get your nails done? You can spend $3 to $5 on your nails, or you can spend all the way up to $60 or $80, $100. It's depending on what you're getting done and what quality or who you're even going to. Just like in Houston has different pockets of areas in town, which we know some are higher priced and some are lower priced. So in Houston, we know the Galleria, River Oaks, anywhere down through Midtown and into downtown, that anywhere basically from downtown to Galleria is pricey in the Houston, Texas area. We know that. Same thing here. There is a section along the BTS that's on Sukhumvit that is Bangalore, Prong Pong, a few of other ones that are Asak, Ekamai, a few other neighborhoods down through there that are pricey, and you can go live that if that's what you choose. So we like to stress that to everybody, is that you can have a $2 or $1 smoothie down the street, or you can go have a $10 smoothie. It depends on where you go and what you choose to spend your money on. But your bang for your buck you get more bang for your buck. Your dollar is stretched out further. You get to be able to do more things than what I like to liken living abroad is like kind of, Mexico was like this. Thailand's very much similar to like this, is living in the States during the 90s. It was cheaper. I remember getting gas for less than $1 when I was driving, when I first started driving, less than $1 a gallon. It's cheaper. And some of the laws and the rules that the United States have now, because of accidents and things like that that have happened, they don't. For instance, here in Thailand and in Mexico, you've seen it on our page. There could be 3, 4, 5, 6 different people on a bike. They could have 3 people on a bike, 3 grown men on a bike, and a ladder, and somebody's holding a propane tank going down the road on a motorbike or a scooter. So riding in the back of the truck, that's another thing, right? So these are things like in America where that was really okay back in the 90s. Cheap, you got gas for less than $1 or right at $1. In Mexico, it was like right around between $1, $1.25 kind of hovering. Here, it's right kind of at $1. Just, we don't have to get gas, obviously, because we don't have a car. But the point is that you understand the vibration that where we were living, especially if you're a millennial, if you're a Gen Xer and all that, of the 90s and what that kind of was like. Because a lot of people talk about, man, I wish it was as cheap as it was in the 90s. So point being is you get to utilize your money in the aspect of the spending power however you choose. Another thing I will say is, I was talking about this on the thing, was the towels. You can found the cotton towels, or you can get a poly blend. There's a difference of fabric here. Going to the store, you see a lot of like linen or really light fabric. You don't see heavy fabrics over here, because why? You don't need them. Now, the funniest thing that I will tell you guys is we'll be walking through the mall, and they have in the middle of the malls, they'll even have vendors that have clothing racks set up, and they're selling their little kiosk of whatever they're selling, right? So not only do they have in the mall your stores, but in the middle of the mall, they have other vendors. And a lot of times you'll see jackets. And I'm looking at this going, why do you need a jacket? Like, I mean, guys, I'm full on down jacket or a puffy jacket or a puffer jacket. I'm thinking, why do you need a jacket? But this is the point. People will buy those here because they're going back to wherever, they're visiting from. And they can get it for $4, $8, $10, which is next to nothing. Obviously, if you go back to Europe, Northern Asia, back to the States, wherever it is. So the difference of quality as we move through not all of the clothing, and some of these items I know are on David's list, and he's going to circle back and touch on them and give his 2 cents on it. But like the quality of plastic, and I know this is something David will talk about, but the quality of packaging and plastic is a simple fact that it's phenomenal. First of all, packaging. When they're shipping your groceries, when they're sending your groceries somewhere, if you grab, which is like Uber Eats or Uber here, if you have food sent to your house, if you order ice cream in Thailand on a motorbike that's going to come to you, they're going to pack it in ice or dry ice. We ordered a cake. We got an ice cream cake and from the mall, and they packed it with dry ice around it. So it was safe to where you didn't touch it, but also to where it didn't touch the cake, but it kept the cake cold enough to wherever you were getting where you were going. So you didn't have a melted ice cream cake when you got there, right? And so it's these little things. The other thing that I would share about is, on the packaging is the plastic. In America, we're used to real thin plastic that kind of rips and tears. Think about grocery bags and, the different qualities of that. Those really thick grocery bags, or if you go to a boutique and they give you buy something, they put it in the bag and they give it to you and you're like, man, this is a really thick, nice bag. Like, I could save this plastic bag and reuse it. That is how every bag over here in Thailand is, even at 7-Eleven. Speaking of 7-Eleven, I was just downstairs at 7-Eleven before we started this podcast, And here's what I want to have to say about this before I go ahead and pass the mic off back over to Mr. Jones. Is 7-Eleven in the States, when it was around, and any corner convenience store, whether it's a gas station or a convenience store, we know in America as chock full of a bunch of junk food and a bunch of processed food and a bunch of, stuff that you should not be eating on a daily basis, right? It's okay if you're road tripping, jump in, get some chips and do your beef jerky and candy and off you go, whatever it is. But on a daily basis, we know eating convenience store food is not good for you. Well, that is completely different here in Thailand, because in Thailand, they have a whole huge, half the store is prepared food that is cold or, in the freezer section that has been cooked and then put into a prepackaged meal to sell to you. And you would, looking at it, you would think, oh no, it's not that good, because we all know from America that stuff is not good when you pull something out of the freezer and heat it up, and you're like, ooh, well, it'll do, but it's what it is. Here, it's phenomenal. A Caesar salad, chicken Caesar salad, phenomenal. I had a cup of corn the other day, phenomenal. I had some macaroni with bacon on top of it from 7-Eleven, phenomenal. Chicken nuggets that they have that David always gets, they're pretty darn good. McDonald's, well, that's a bad example. I shouldn't say that. But Burger King, I will just say the food quality here is completely different, and that's a whole nother rabbit. But before I hand this mic over, the last one I would say is window tint, and I did a TikTok on that one. And the window tint here, David made a mention of how thick the thickness of the wood, like how dark the window tint is. And I looked it up because I was curious when I was doing my TikTok. And here, they have regulations for the front window, your windshield, your passenger, the driver and passenger front windows, but the back windows, the back passenger and your rear window, you can have no limit, like limo tint, darker than limo tint. You can't see in at all. They have no regulations on the back of it. If you were in America, that wouldn't fly. We know that would not work. So these are just a handful of the few things and anomalies that we see by living here that are not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just, well, it is different. Not good or bad. It is just different. And it is fun to experience things like this and kind of catch those. And that's kind of, why I shared about the TikTok and what we're doing there, is because we're sharing more of those adventures like that are everyday things that might not be what other TikToks are providing. So with that said, Mike, back to you, Mr. Jones. Take it away.
Thank you. So, especially when we talk about, what you talked about, the money, you talked about some of the culture, you talked about the food. And another thing I will add to this is definitely the heat. The heat is no joke here. And especially when we first arrived here, they talked about, how it was the rainy season and, come during this particular part of the year, because that's the best time to come. And I call bullshit. I say come now, like at the end of July, because it is cloudy. You get a little rainstorms here and there. And, you might have some nights where it rained a little bit and you might get a little humidity. But about 75% of the time, it's awesome compared to when we first got here, because I'm scared of shit when, it does get back to the time to where they say it's a good season to come, because that first day we landed here, it was absolutely hot. And then, when we talk about the clothing alone, it's different here in America. Or should I say here in Thailand. They got apparently I'm a 7X here in Thailand. After this last week, I'm probably a 6X now. But it is crazy how it goes all the way up. To that far. I think it went all the way up. I think I saw her have like a 10X in some cases. And so this is just some things that they don't tell you, that a lot of the standards that we as Americans have, they don't have over here. And even with the culture, I don't know if we talked about this in full, but what they do lie about is the different, ethnicities where there is, and I'll give a prime example. Like when we moved to Colombia, and I'll speak for myself. Growing up in a household, my dad would always say, "Oh, the Mexicans this, the Mexicans this, the Mexicans this, the Mexican this." But what my dad didn't know was, he didn't know that there were Colombians. He didn't know that there was El Salvadorians. He didn't know that there was Cubans. He didn't know that there was Central America. He didn't know that there was, Brazilian. He didn't know that there was all these different types of Latin American people. And, being over in Mexico, you kind of are adapted to that. And it's all a lie of how we look at people and how we judge people and how we assume so much. The other day, Tara was talking about, your emotions and the four agreements. And, it's amazing that we bring these things up. And just to remind you all that the four agreements is huge. The first one is be impeccable with your word. Don't tell people you're going to do something and you don't do it and you don't hold your word in all aspects of your life. That's on you, not them, if you're not holding your word to what you agreed upon. Number two, don't take anything personally. And Tara was talking about this, and it blew my mind. That this is one that, not taking things personally, not having emotions tied to it. I need to carry this with me all the time. And then this one would save a lot of our arguments. And I'm pretty sure, man, you have the same issue and problems as well. I don't know if it's as bad as mine, but pray for me and send a signal, something for me. But don't make assumptions. And we do that so much, just as we did when we traveled to Colombia, just as we did when we traveled to Mexico, just as we did when we traveled here to Thailand, that now just looking at it, and that's why I said I'm going to challenge the land of the smiles. I see people, just like I saw people in Mexico, just like I saw people in Colombia, that are trying to make it day to day, that are struggling, with making ends meet. And there's people out here that are being mean, that are being assholes, that are not being blessed, that are not being grateful. And so many other people would die to be in the place that you are, and vice versa. A man with no legs is a man that's a blind that would love to have that, and vice versa. Can't hear, love to be blind. And we forget about these little synchronicities, yet we talk about these things, which then brings me to the fourth one. Always do your best. And this is where I shared earlier. And instead of me talking about it, I'm going to share this with you guys. Check this out. Something. When is the last time you did something at 100%? Like you gave it your all and you didn't give up? I know one thing that you have given 100% at: your pride, your ego, your commitment to your patterns, and commitment to hate instead of love, instead of compassion, instead of grace, instead of forgiveness. What if we got paid $1 every time we actually committed to our pride, our ego, and all the hatred shit? What if you got paid $1? You'd be rich. Now just imagine if you got paid 4 times the amount. If you got paid for your love, your kindness, forgiveness, and really being able to truly, authentically love you and keep your word. Think on that. Food for thought. Do dishes. Yeah. And so I shared that, right? Because Tara was mentioning something about, the culture, about, the money, and things of that sort. And I just want to remind you guys all that it is so important that you understand that you are getting paid by the way that you treat people every single day. We are in this together. And so often we choose the hatred, we choose the messy, we choose the pettiness, we choose the foul stuff that we know is not right over love, over gratitude, over our word, being impeccable with our word, over not taking things personally, to not have that pettiness and that messiness, to not come up with assumptions and say things that didn't actually happen, and come up with lies internally, more importantly, right? And then always doing your best. We can't be talking about being our best, and then when it's time to be our best, we don't be our best. And that's something that I think that as Americans we don't do as well as people over here do. And I share this because about 2 weeks ago, walking down the street, they had some holiday, and this guy, was just so just joyful. And he walked up, just a random guy walked up, and he just, he just gave me a hug, and he started telling us about, what the actual holiday was about, where it's about giving and grace, and tried to, he wanted to sell us these little break apart things. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have any cash. Tara had the cash on her. I told him I had no cash because I didn't know what was going on at first, but now I understand what it was. And so I was doing exactly the opposite, making an assumption, which is what we do. We come up with these stories to fit our narrative, to fit our way of seeing things, and it's completely wrong. And that is why, when Tara shared, about my page and it being, my truths and my facts, I call bullshit on that. I speak nothing but the truth, nothing but the facts. And I shared this because I grew up in a household that held you accountable for the actions that you did. And it was prime example, if you played ball and coach asked you, did you make that tackle? And you say, yeah, coach, I made the tackle. And coach says, run the plate, run the tape. Beep. And you didn't make the tackle. You cannot tell coach, hey, I thought I made the tackle. No, your ass didn't make the tackle. So your perspective and your feelings and your emotions is completely wrong, and you're out. It's done. That is the last thing on the totem pole, period. And so I share this with you because the amount of evidence will never persuade an idiot. So it doesn't matter how many facts, it doesn't matter how many recordings, it doesn't matter how many text messages, emails, all of these things that you bring to these type of people, lower level energy vibration type of people, you'll never persuade an idiot. And we have a lot of people out there, and I'm not going to name a particular group, that we see every single day that avoid facts, that avoid evidence, that avoid all of this, and they'll use it when it works for them. But then when they want to change the game is switched, and we see it every fucking day. And yet we seem that we forget how this shit plays out, and we continue to run with these emotions and patterns and traumas and dramas. And that's really what it shows up as people don't want to take accountability. And because you grow up without taking accountability, and you see how other people handle lack of accountability, where they kick cat food and they run off and they don't say apologies, and they send a text message back other than taking ownership and coming to that person like a real person and saying, hey, my bad. They send a message like a fucking coward, and then wonder why life works out the way it does, because a coward dies 1,000 fucking times, point blank. And so make sure you're not being a damn coward and showing up in life and being like that dude on the street. And guess what? He could show up on that street and be nice and kind and loving and all of that, but behind closed doors might be a complete asshole and avoid his significant other for 9 days on his accord because he self-sabotaged his own day, his own life, and is hurt and is taking that out on other people, knowing that, and continue to do that. And that just doesn't work in life. And so you have those types around the world. And until we can be able to truly not just talk about emotions and controlling your emotions and talking about the 4 agreements of being impeccable with your word, not taking anything personal, don't make assumptions, always doing your best, not talking about it, right? But actually doing it, because there's a lot of people that talk a lot, but don't do a lot, and criticize other people for them doing things, because in all reality, it's jealousy. They're mad that you can do things so easily and they cannot. And so they hate on you and they're mad at you. And so they try to drag you down as well. And that's what narcissists do. That's what people do in that low vibration energy, because they can't have it. They try to pull you back down. So check out this next clip.
What? We out. We out of here. We're going to see what the real deal is about. This monk stuff might be a little too much. We leaving. Let's go, Elroy. We out. All right, we were just playing. We coming back. It's crazy out there. People ain't got integrity. People take perspective over facts and truth. We can't even deal with that. That's not the way we live out here in these monk streets.
As you might laugh, just remember, the universe does not care about your feelings or emotions. It only responds to your alignment and vibrations. So let's be real. Your thoughts, are they the vision of the future or the memory of the past? Remember, denial is not a strategy. You have to be able to control your emotions and let go of the past, let go of the traumas, the dramas, the same reactions that don't serve you well. So remember, a coward dies 1,000 times. Toodles. Boom. And if you didn't see that last clip, I was trying to wonder what that last clip was about that I shared in that video. That last clip was a video of when we traveled from Cartagena to Sanaga. And that trip will put tears in your eyes. And if you don't, then I'm going to just let you know your wood is wet, as a great mentor of mine will share with you. And this is what I continue to remind us about every day as we travel around the world, of what they don't tell you, the lies that they share with you, that people are living around this world in so much more poverty. And you bitch and you complain and you talk about the hood, you talk about this ward, you talk about this being violent, or this being that way in your local neighborhood or wherever you are. You don't have bombs flying over you. You don't have to worry about war. You don't have to worry about, water coming in your house and you living on the side of the ocean and it just being low tide, high tide. You don't have to worry about being in Thailand right now, where in the front of us right now, there's a stream where a guy is fishing, and in the same day, the guy's pissing where the guy is fishing, and a homeless guy is shitting in the same river as well. And this guy was literally fishing in the same exact spot. And so we forget how grateful we are. And so I remind you guys, stop lying to yourself about how you're showing up in life and what life looks like to you, which is why I talk about facts, which is why I talk about the truth. And most people avoid the truth, and they want to be candy coated, and they want to be, coddled, and they want to hide behind these emotions. They want to hide behind a zodiac sign. They want to hide behind a moon. They want to hide behind a period. They want to hide behind a menopause, when these are things that just continue to show up. And this is a habit. This is a pattern. This is just who you are, that you continue not to fix when you said you would fix these things, which go with rule number 1, be impeccable with your word. So, that's where you have to start. Are you lying to yourself? Are you getting paid $1? Or are you getting paid 4 times the amount because you're choosing love, you're choosing kindness, you're choosing integrity, you're choosing morals, the right morals, right? The overall morals for not just I, but for we, and really being able to be, rich in the pocketbook, not in monetary, but just in kindness and overall energy and vibration. So not just talking about it, but being about it. And I shared that coming from a person that, trust me, this week has been hell on wheels and been up and down, forward, backwards, sideways. And the universe continues to put these things right in front of me. Especially, I don't have this video on here where a cat, I'm a black dude, I don't mess with cats, never have, never did in the past, while my cat's sitting right here looking at me crazy. But in the States, you don't have cats that come up to you, especially black cats that come up to you, and a boy cat, and rub all over you and then let you touch his stomach multiple times and is playing with you, because that's the energy, that's the vibration. And most of the time we don't have that in the States, because we're so much on survival mode. We're so much on the get back in the vindictive mode. And unfortunately, that comes from our surroundings that we grew up with. If you grew up on a planet where the aliens danced and sang all day, and then all of a sudden I put you on another planet and you realize, and there was something else that was going on where people actually went to work or did this or did that, and it was different from your surroundings, that would be a different perspective that you have, but that's not the truth. Right? So let's make sure that we are able to move forward and really be able to stop lying to ourselves and how you think about living abroad. And look, like I said earlier, do not just go to the resort. Don't just go to Cancun. Just don't go to, Dominican Republic. Just don't go to, Jamaica and stay on the resort and go to the pool and go to the buffet, go back to the pool, go to the on-site bar, go to the casino and do it all over again for 3 days and then be tired as hell, needing a vacation from a vacation. And then you talk about you went to Jamaica and you went to fucking Hilton, right? That you could have did, at the Hilton downtown that has the same resort that has the same shit because you didn't go nowhere other than you saw an ocean. So you could do that at Galveston. So, be able to make sure that you're not lying to yourself and get outside of your own comfort zone. What you got?
I think you covered it all. We got our sermon in for the day, got our motivational preaching in today. We shared about what it's like living abroad from different perspectives and different truths and different realities of everybody, whether you are a local, whether you are a foreigner, whether you live here full time, whether you're here on vacation. All I have to say is that they've bamboozled you, they've lied to you wherever you are in this world when they say, especially if you got your head tuned into the mass media and watching all of that negative BS that they're pumping out to you on Fox, on CNN, on MSNBC, on NBC. Yes, I said it. Yes, I called them out. It's all crap. They're fear-based. They're pushing fear, and they tell you not to move abroad because the geopolitical, this person's going to blow up that person. This person's got this going on. This person's doing that. It's all to keep you at the house, in the matrix, stuck and deprived. A lot of people don't understand that. But yet they'll turn back to that mass media and they'll say, but they said it on the mass media, so it has to be true. Or they'll watch it day in and day out, believing what they're telling you on the mass media about other countries. Like right now, there's a conflict between Thailand and Cambodia. It's been going on for years, guys. Years. Now, there's been some things fired. There's been people that have lost their lives. There has been some heightened action taken. But yet, what will the media do? They will enforce fear and they will inflict fear 10 times over to make you scared. Should you still come to Thailand? Heck yeah. Why? Because of the reality of, are you safer living in Thailand or America? Let me tell you right now, I wouldn't want to live in America. Why? Not only are you stuck in the matrix, but you have a target on your back. Why? Because of the political people in our world or in our country. Then I'm talking about political figures that are appointed that are not doing what we should be doing. It is all a stage. It is all scripted in a way to promote fear. Let me tell you something. Monsters, Inc., the movie, is not about just a cute little movie. That scream, that fear, that their energy, that they're harnessing is really live. It's really a thing. That's really what they do. But we are taught to believe MSNBC, believe NBC, believe CBS, believe Fox News, believe CNN, believe all of these, Yahoo News, whatever one you want to watch or tune into or get your news from. You are sitting there allowing them to tell you a story and to lie to you and tell you that the American dream, that you're safe. But they have put the biggest target on your back for living in there. I wouldn't want to be in America with somebody in there pissing off Mexico or Canada. You're going to have, and everybody else in the world, when we are the biggest target because we're the biggest bully in the world. Heck yeah, moving abroad and going somewhere else. They lie to you on the TV to tell you that Mexico's dangerous, to tell you that Canada's dangerous, to tell you that Thailand's dangerous, to tell you that Europe's dangerous, to tell you that Colombia's dangerous, to tell you that South America's dangerous, that Brazil's dangerous, that everybody else outside of America is dangerous. Don't go there. Especially don't go to the Eastern Hemisphere because China is over there. Russia's on the Eastern Hemisphere. You're going to die. That is what they make you believe through these mass media networks. And that is part of what this conversation here today is, to the lie that they tell you about where you're at, what you're doing, and how you're living. They've fed you a script. You unfortunately had to go by the script because you were told you had to go to school, and that's when the script started. And the point being is, once you leave and move out and go explore, look, you don't got to leave. You could take a 2-week vacation. You could take a week vacation and try to go. I would say if you have 30 days saved up, take your 30 days and go experience. And like David shared, go get the experience of everything. Get off the resort, because the resort is not going to do you any good because it's catered to Americans, because Americans spend a lot of money to go feel safe, because we have this facade that we need to feel safe wherever we are. And in reality, your safety is within you, and for the choices and the beliefs and the things that you show up and what you plug your energy into whether you're plugging into the resolution or to the problem. And so if you're plugging into the problem of them telling you, hey, don't go to Mexico because the cartel's down there and they're going to kidnap you as an American and, you're going to disappear. Well, that is a likelihood. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not. They could. But let me tell you something. I was safer walking in cartel country than I was in Houston, Texas by myself. Houston, Texas is the #1 sex trafficking capital within the United States. And it's not just for children. It's not just for women. They want you all, whether you're a male or female, old, young, big, small, tall, short. Doesn't matter. They want everybody. It is now about human trafficking. Because why? Let's go back to Monsters, Inc. That fear that they're instilling into you by the mass media of don't move abroad, don't do this, don't go anywhere, is to instill that fear so you stay frozen, you work to pay off that debt that they've sold you on the American debt dream, and at the end of the day, then you show up and you're exhausted. You're in survival. You're dying just to keep a roof over your head and barely be able to pay your bills because inflation is so high. I just saw a TikTok the other day with the community that we're building here in Thailand. And one young lady, they've been here for 60 days. And she said in their monthly expenditures that they normally spent from the States to the to Thailand. And they've got taxis to go everywhere. They've, went out to eat and done those things. They're living their life. They're not just sitting at the house and, not doing anything. So they're living a comparable life to what they did in America. And they saved almost over $4,200 by simply doing the same things here on the other side of the world than in America. Because at the end of the day, you've got this system at the top that is pumping fear and everything into it to tell you don't go anywhere, don't move abroad, don't go live, in Jamaica because it's unsafe. And yes, guys, the whole world has unsafe areas. Thailand was just given the #1 position, #1 place to live in for digital nomads in 2025. Excuse me, stand corrected. Bangkok, Thailand was just named the #1 city in 2025 to live in. Why? #1 reason, safety. Let's talk about safety here. I can't talk. One of the conversations that David and I have talked about in the past is one of the things is that when we were in Colombia, I asked him how he feels about, being outside the country. And he says, I don't feel hunted anymore. I saw a lady of the same community, a Black American young lady from America who was talking about the same thing here in Thailand. I walked down to 7-Eleven in our building here because there's a 7-Eleven at the base of our building. And there's a young lady that has two children. One is in a stroller, one's like still walking where you can hold hands. She literally parked her baby that's in a stroller, maybe 8 months old, old enough to be okay, right by the door of 7-Eleven, went inside, got her stuff, because there's a little lip to get into the store. So instead of going up and over the lip to get into the store, she could just push the wheel, the stroller in there. So she just parked it right there. Guys, people leave stuff on their bags, on their scooters, on their bikes parked. People leave their helmets sitting on their bikes when they go into the store. This is not just at the condo. This is at the mall. You have people who have bicycles that they don't even lock up. You have people that just leave their stuff out. Because I saw one guy that he was talking about how in his condo, this is on another TikTok here in Bangkok, it's a gentleman that we follow. He was talking about how he walked by for like almost a month, and there was this 75-inch brand new TV that was shipped to the condo, and it just sat there up against the wall in the shipping area, the pickup, because that's how they do it. You go down to the package room, and they have somebody down there but everything's open. You could like walk up to it. Point being is that when you do that, people could just walked up and picked up that TV and walked off. They don't mess with things here because there's respect about not messing with other people's stuff. There's, and because of that, you want to be a part of that. There's not here a fear-based instillment of, I'm going to beat you up if you touch my stuff. It's such a different mentality here. And they say it's the land of smiles, and I was reading into that, and a smile is not always being given because it's happy or because that's what needs to be, a presentation of joy, right? That's the smile is not always just a symbol of joy. Sometimes in the Thailand and in the Thai culture, a smile, because the way that the culture here is to, instead of cause conflict, is to be a part of the resolution and the solution. And what does that mean? It means that to honor thy neighbor, essentially, to whoever's in your presence, to be able to be helpful, of help to them, and vice versa. It's because Buddhism is the base of the culture here. You get to see how that comes through. But what I was reading within that and watching a few conversations on it from locals is that when someone presents a smile, it might not always be because they're presenting joy or they're happy, or that's just they walk around with the land of smiles with a smile on their face all the time. Sometimes it's required by their job. Like you go into 7-Eleven, every time you walked in, we've lived here almost 90 days. Every time I walk in, they still say hi, and they smile and they kind of give you a little bow. Like that's part of the requirement at 7-Eleven. Every 7-Eleven does it when you walk in. If you go to any service, personal service, like David gets his beard done, a haircut, nails done. You go in to get acupuncture. You go in to get a massage. You go in to just go to a restaurant. The level of quality of service, customer service, is bar none. They are extremely well. They are a nation of service and giving to others. So when David talks about how the land of smiles is not always the land of smiles, it's true, because they might be doing it because it's part of maybe customary. It might be just because they kind of have that mentality of not to be aggressive and not to kind of go after and towards people, to kind of leave things be and allow people to just kind of flow in their own state. And that's the kind of culture as a whole here. And that's why you get one thing that we noticed about moving outside of the United States is there's not a hustle culture outside of the United States like in the United States. The entire United States is built on hustle. If you ain't working 80 hours a week, if you're not up at fucking sun up and to sundown, and trust me, I've listened to my brother tell me this, I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm working till sundown at night. Okay, cool. Well, I get up when I get up, and I go to bed when I go to bed. And sometimes that's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes that's 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes that's 8 o'clock at night. It is the American culture, and I know the older generation, the baby boomer generation, most of our parents, David's parents, my parents, a lot of our millennials, zillennial, Generation X parents live in that world of you got to work hard and earn it. You can't earn it. You got to show up every day and earn it, and don't understand the power of manifestation, vibration, and energy. And what happens is that when this comes down the pipeline, within here, that energy is different. You go to the States, you know what I'm talking about. It's like hustle, 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 go, 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 go. Shit, I got a busy day. I got 500 appointments. I got Billy and Susie's baseball game. Then we got little, Johnny's, tumbling. I don't know what it is. He's wrestling. I don't know, whatever it is, riding motorcycles. You're constantly going and busy. Oh, we got next summer or next week, we got summer vacation before we go back to school. And then we got fair the following week. And then we got to go back and get everybody back to school. It is that constant go. And here, you'll be driving down the street and you'll see the tuk-tuk driver pulled off into the shade, sleeping in his back, taking a little siesta. You saw it in Mexico. You saw it in Colombia. People will stop and rest when they need to rest. And nobody faults them. But in America, oh no, not happening, Captain, because you show up, you ain't hustling, you'll be replaced. Because that's how the mentality in America is you're replaceable. You ain't doing what you said you're going to do, you're replaceable. You ain't, being able to perform the job duties, you're replaceable. Everybody's replaceable in America. That's the mentality. And here, there's a respect for you as just a human. Like the one thing I noticed, and I was talking to my little Thai friend that I'm making downstairs, she was telling me that, and you can look this up anywhere, is that when you bow, like I've never bowed in my life to, because you don't do that in America. You don't have to bow and greet people. You handshake, you give a hug. That's how they greet. Here, you don't really touch each other, but you give gentle respect and bow. And so she was sharing that the younger people will bow, like will have a deeper bow to people that they feel that are older. And I was like, oh, that's why I feel like everybody's bowing deeper to me. And she's like, well, because most people here are like servers, or greeters or that you're dealing with, they're young, they're in their teens or their 20s. And so to them, everybody's older. So they bow deeply. It is crazy because when people bow, you want to stop and bow to them to make sure that you're honoring the same respect and not just be that asshole walking through and be like, thanks for the bow, whatever, and keep on moving. You want to stop and take your time and show that same respect. One thing I've noticed here, and one thing I was thinking about this the other day while I was walking, is that Thailand will forever be in my future. And why do I say that? It's because when I showed up here, the energy and vibration of David can call it what he wants, when he talks about energy and vibrations and, moons and planets and things like that. But it plays a huge role on everything in life. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. If you feel it, you feel it. If you don't, you don't. And that's okay. It doesn't make anybody wrong or right. But the one thing I can share with you is that when I showed up in Thailand, the immediate energy was completely different versus America. And we had just spent 2 weeks in America, right? Nothing different. Humidity, out of this world. Traffic, big city, same buzz and all that. But the energy was different. You can't explain it. I cannot explain it. That's like someone telling you that they grabbed a hold of a hot wire fence or stuck a fork into the plug-in and they got a little zoop, 120 volt. You can't explain what that feels. You just go zoop and you give them a little, that's all you can share with them. You have to experience that jolt of energy to understand how that feels. You have to experience Thailand's energy. And what we mean by that too, by the way, when you do come to experience Thailand's energy, is don't just go to all of the tourist traps. Don't just go to Phuket, where is southern Thailand, where everybody goes. Gorgeous area. But there's so many people down there and tourists that you're almost not getting the the quality of what Thailand is, because there's so many other people's vibration in there. Not a bad thing, just sharing. If you want that authentic kind of vibration and feel, check out other areas that can offer the same thing, that give you that experience, if that's what you want. If you want that other experience of where there's a lot of other different foreigners and, instead of locals, cool, do what works for your vibe. But just don't sit on your couch and stay home. If you have the ability, I know. Look, it was so funny. The other day, David and I were in the mall, and David was in the little men's room, and I was walking through H&M, and I was just waiting for David, and this guy walked by, and I had seen these people walk in, but I didn't pay no attention. And then I heard him speak in English, and it always piques my interest because, you're in a foreign country, so when you hear people speak in English, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. You kind of get a little bit of, similarity, right? And then, but when I heard the way that this person was talking, this guy, I recognized that voice, and I looked around, and this was a person that was my best friend's old boss. So I've known him for probably almost 20 years or so, and I haven't seen him in like 15 plus years. And we run into him at a Bangkok mall, and he was over here, visiting his fiance's family and, doing some other things in life. But in conversation that we had, it was so crazy to listen to a different perspective of someone who is from America, still living in America, but wants to retire in Thailand, and talking about how Thailand might be, in his eyes, a third world country. And it kind of boggled David and I's mind, because we're like, this is, to us, this is not a third world country based off of, first of all, the infrastructure. I mean, the freeways, the systems, the bridges, the roads, the transportation, the public transportation. It is well thought out. Of course, there can always be room for improvement. But let me tell you, living my entire life in America versus the infrastructure here, America, you got to pick up, put some of those tax dollars towards the infrastructure, because it's falling apart. And other countries are taking care of their infrastructure, which is then attracting people to come visit. And so when you talk about a third world country, yeah, but America is going to start qualifying for a third world country, because when we look at the line of poverty and how many people are under it, and blah, 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 all these statistics and analytics that classify that. So I think a third world country at the end of the day is the way that the energy and vibration of the people show up. And in Colombia and Mexico and here, we've experienced nothing but, for the most part, good vibration, people that have a balance and quality of life and understand they might not have a whole lot, but they have enough. And that's one thing that I will say is, moving abroad, you can move abroad, but if you don't take care of your business mindset, your way you look, I mean, if you're extremely, if to you the looking good runs the show, which means that you're kind of keeping up with the quote unquote Joneses, as they say, no pun intended, but keeping up with the Joneses, is that you have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain way, you have to do a certain thing. And that's one real cool thing about here in Thailand, is you can dress up and go out and do what you need to do, and go to a restaurant. But you can also go to the same restaurant and somebody might be there in slides, like little flip-flops and shorts and a t-shirt or a polo or something, right? People don't care about what you look like or who you are or what you are, in the sense of that. I do know here, though, they love sunscreen, and that's because the lighter their skin, like for instance, if someone has a Thai local has darker skin, it means they work out in the sun, and so that would signify that they don't have a good job. So it's a classification of living, I suppose, of like what we call middle class, low class, middle class, high class, and how we make judgments of people. In America, you can work outside because blue collar workers make good money. Here, it's not the case. And so you'll notice a lot of like products, beauty products and things like that have a lot of whitening agents in it because they want to lighten their skin. And here I saw a TikTok the other day that was talking about this, and I thought it was really funny that we got white people coming to Thailand to get a tan, and we got Thais that are trying to lighten their skin because they don't want to be, super dark from the sun exposure. And so just differences of things that are going on. And guess what? That's our perspective of how it's going. We could get a Thai local in here that's been born and raised here and lived their entire life, and they're going to have a completely different perspective. They could have a perspective that is, thinking like, well, that's nice. You guys live in a la land. So that's kind of goes back into what David was sharing, which is, be grateful. Be grateful for all things that you have, that you can do, that you can wake up and walk. This week, a lot of Gen Xers are not doing good this week. Jamal from the Cosbys passed away unexpectedly and drowned in a riptide current. We lost Ozzy Osbourne. As many of you knew, that was kind of coming down the pipeline.
He would be a baby boomer.
And then yesterday, we lost Hulk Hogan.
He would be a baby boomer.
So the reason why I say Gen X is really struggling is because Gen Xers grew up watching those people. Gen X grew up with Hulk Hogan being, their idol. And Ozzy Osbourne was, the Gen X idol because he was in Black Sabbath. And then growing up with the Crosbys, whether we're not talking about, anything else but that. But that was a show that everybody grew up with. The Gen Xers grew up. And so that's why I say Gen Xers are not doing great this week because a lot of the people that they grew up with have passed away. And
so the fact of the matter is that that's not what you said at the very beginning. So that would be a prime example of fact over perspective. You can have a perspective of what you think you said, but the fact of the matter is that you said Gen X. Not that the actual Gen X was having an issue. But would you like to continue your 25-minute conversation of our podcast together?
No, thank you. I think we're all wrapped up. And you know the drill. Love, kindness, and integrity. And until next time, commitment and consistency. And with that said, thank you, everybody, for being here.
We're not finished yet there, my friends.
We love you for being here. Thank you so much.
We're not finished. I got something to say.
No,
you said you finished. I'm not finished. So with that being said, I love that this year is all about the year of truth. And I was watching something earlier on TikTok and it said, this year is about calling people out, not letting them get away with their bullshit, because that's what's happening this year, is that a lot that's happening in the dark is coming to light. So when you hear people talk about, respect and vibration and energy, be sure that you understand that not a lot of times those people actually have that, especially when they tell people they're stupid, they call them a little bitch, or they go 9 days and not talk to them, but talk about respect and vibration and energy and all that, just to be an example of facts, of truth, not just perspective, but actual documentation and what's actual of the direct times and things of that sort, whether it's an hour, whether it's a minute, whether it's 30 minutes, it happened, or it would be debating over small talk. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to be aware that, hey, resolution is so much the key. And as we talk about, Buddhists and grace and forgiveness, that's not what's been going on around this house. So we brung the drama, we brung the pride, we brung the ego, we brung all of that from Mexico, from Colombia, from America. It continues, my friends. So
Welcome to Getting Naked, where we strip away the bullshit and dive headfirst into the raw, unfiltered, and hilariously messy world of life and entrepreneurship.
We're here to expose the real truths of owning a business and the gut-wrenching challenges that pop up along the way. More importantly, the mind-blowing rewards while we juggle personal growth, wild adventures as digital entrepreneurs traveling the world, and the ins and outs of an interracial relationship, all seasoned with those what the fuck moments that make it all worthwhile.
This isn't your typical buttoned-up podcast. We're uncensored, unapologetically authentic, and just plain funny as fuck. We live by facts over feelings, bringing you the real deal without sugarcoating shit. So, buckle up, buttercups, and get ready to get real, get raw, and most importantly, have a laugh with us.
But wait, there's more. We're breaking new ground into the Metaverse with our Hello Plaza. That's right, folks, we're taking this shit to the next level. We are one of the first podcasts in the Metaverse. You can join us from all your devices. Hell, you can even join from your cell phone. Just press the damn button and join us. You won't blow up. We promise.
Now, let's get naked.